minutes.
You have still be dancing.
Huh?
You can still be dancing.
No, I'm all right here. Okay. So our topic today is on attachment, how it causes misery. But the same attachment, if we place it on something eternal, spiritual, it can give us so much happiness and bliss. So I will start with the prayers first. More prayers. We need lesser mercy. Om Ajnanatimandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Anilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dati Swapadantikam Mandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raghunantam Tam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Hitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchaka Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Adhiracha Patitaram Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I have a question for everyone. What binds us in this material world? What binds us in this material world? Any answers?
The subject matter of your class, attachments.
That's right. So,
But attachment to what?
Yeah, attachment to what?
that's it. Attachment to what? So this is the class today, and I would like to read a few verses from Bhagavad Gita, which is talking about attachment and how it causes miseries. So the first verse, chapter 2, verse 62. I'm just going to read the translations. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses to regulate the principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. So our class today will be based on these three verses and a story from Srimad Bhagavatam. And does anybody know who is Bharat Maharaj? Do you know the story? Does somebody know the story of Bharat Maharaj? Yes? Okay, so don't say anything. I will share the story. So, Bharat Maharaj, he was the emperor of the world, and he was known as the topmost devotee. And he was the son of Rishabdev, who was an incarnation of Krishna. His father, Rishabdev, ordered him to rule the kingdom, and he got married also to Panchajani, his wife, and begot 5 sons. And because he ruled the planet so nicely, the planet was known as Bharatvarsha after his reign. And here, I guess most of our Indian Prabhus know that India was known as Bharatvarsha, and it's still known as Bharatvarsha, right? So And with great faith, he was performing a lot of sacrifices and offering it to Krishna, and he was not attached to the result. He was giving everything to Krishna. So by doing all the sacrifices, his heart was becoming purified and he was completely uncontaminated. And day by day, his devotional service was increasing for Lord Vishnu. He enjoyed his kingdom for 10 million years. For 10 million years, he enjoyed his kingdom. After he did all the duties and responsibilities towards his family and looked after the kingdom, he decided to retire and hand over all the responsibilities to his son. And then he retired to Pula Ashram in Haridwar. So everything is going so nicely in the story. What happened then? We'll find out. So he became such an elevated devotee that he was having ecstatic symptoms of love of Godhead. He was crying while he was thinking of Krishna, and he was also trembling. These are some symptoms of love when somebody is very much absorbed in God, and also So one day he was after doing taking care of all his morning needs, like brushing his teeth or washing himself, bathing himself. He sat beside the river Gandaki, and he was meditating on Krishna. He was doing his devotional service, and then he saw that there was a mother deer. She was pregnant and she was trying to cross the river. And suddenly a lion roared. And then the deer got afraid, and the deer got so much scared that out of anxiety she delivered the baby in the river, and she got so much frightened. She ran the other side of the river, and she fell in a cave and she died. And the little calf, the little baby deer, was in the river. And while Maharaj Bharat saw that the baby was there, out of compassion, he saved him and took him in his ashram, and he started looking after him. And Maharaj Bharat became very affectionate to the deer, and gradually he started to become very attached. Just like a mother, when a mother has a child, the mother is taking care of the child, nursing the child, changing the child, or teaching everything, or feeding the child. The same way Maharaj Bharat was doing all this for the little deer, and he became so much attached. And he gradually started to forget all the rules and regulations of spiritual advancement. He forgot how to worship. He started to forget to worship Krishna. One day he couldn't see the deer, and he became so much disturbed, and he began searching for the deer. In anxiety, he felt great separation, and he became like a madman. He started searching for the deer, and he was looking for the deer. And while he was looking for the deer, he was so much absorbed in the thoughts of the deer, he didn't realize that he was close to a cliff, and he just fell down, and he died. What a tragedy. So while he was dying, he saw the deer, and he was lamenting while he was dying, and he was thinking like, oh my God, I have found the deer now, but I can't look after the deer. And he was lamenting. In the thoughts of the deer, he left his body. He died. So yes. Just give me. So they say there is a nice verse in Bhagavad Gita. They say that Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sadata bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So while he left his body, what did he think of? What was he thinking of?
Deer.
He was thinking of the deer. So, what do you think? What body did he got in his next life?
Deer.
Yes, he got the body of a deer. So the whole story about attachment. So what did we learn from this story? What did we learn from this story?
Not to become attached.
Huh?
You must become detached and not become attached. Don't be attached.
Mm-hmm.
When you become attached to, then that will be your destination.
Mm.
Now, did he actually, sorry about that, did you, as he was dying, did he actually see the deer in reality when he was dying?
Well, that's what's written in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He saw the deer.
Yeah.
And then he lamented that, he saw the deer and he lamented that he couldn't look after him anymore because he's dying now. So he saw the deer, yeah.
Also, he was really attached to the deer because he was hugging it and kissing it.
Yes.
And everything like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's real attachment.
Yeah. What else did we learn from this story?
To remember Krishna when we leave the body.
Yes. So what are the lessons we are learning here? He took compassion on the deer. It says that for a devotee we should be compassionate to all living entities. But here, his compassionate was on the deer. It's not like he did something wrong. It's good that he took care of the deer, but he started thinking that the deer is it's his prince, it's his son. And instead of seeing it as a service to God, he became absorbed about the deer, you know, and
He was
that
forgetting Krishna.
he was forgetting Krishna.
Same thing.
He
It's
wasn't,
not.
yeah.
My understanding, only because the moment he started looking after the deer, then he should have actually taken instruction. Should have asked higher authorities what to do, but he didn't. He carried on and let the attachment grow stronger and stronger. Because when he first rescued the deer, he could say, "Okay, what shall I do?" And he could have asked his spiritual master or whatever, his authority, and then he could have let go without so much attachment. Once the attachment got really strong, he couldn't let go.
And at the time there was nobody around to also warn him or, you know, rectify him because he was on his own. So here it shows us if you don't have devotee association, this is what happens. You tend to go in a different route, you know, so it's good to have devotee association. This is what we are learning from Mahatma's story. So he was living on his own, and even he was very realized. He was having symptoms of love of Godhead, but still he fell down from the path of devotion, from the path of bhakti. So it shows that even such high elevated devotees can fall down if they don't follow the rules and regulations. So what to speak of us or me? You know, I'm not even there. I don't even have love of God yet, or have the symptoms of ecstasy or anything like that. So it shows me as a person that I should be more careful and practice these rules and principles so carefully. Prabhupada gave us this very simple instruction. He said, practice the 4 rules of regulated principles, chant 16 rounds, and I think that's the basic, to show that you're serious in your path bhakti. But he was forgetting the rules and regulations, so that causes the downfall of him. But another thing was, yes, in Srimad Bhagavatam it says that compassion should be, you are taking somebody from the material platform and uplifting him to the spiritual platform. This is real compassion, not just showing compassion to the outly body.
The outward dress.
Yes, the outer dress. For example, in Dublin, here in the city, you see so many homeless people, right? They are looking for money, or they don't have food, they don't have house. So how do you show compassion to them? So we have to be careful. We can show compassion by giving them prasadam, or we can show compassion to them by
Yes.
doing Harinam, because Krishna's name is so powerful. Krishna's name is not different by himself. Krishna's name is Krishna himself. So it's like you're bringing Krishna to them. So they will get some effect. It will. Prabhu here does so much Harinam. He knows he's like, you know, always
Harinam.
Prabhu, say something about Harinam. What is
More
the
people should do
potency
it.
of Harinam?
Huh?
The potency of Harinam.
Well, it benefits the pious and the impious, and that's just the performers. And if you, it gives them Sukriti, it gives them unknown devotional credits, and once if you hear a Harinam, if you cross the area in which the Harinam is being performed, you get all the unknown devotional credits. My first contact with devotional service was a Harinam. It was in Birmingham in about 1985, and there were devotees from she attended college performing Harinam. And then you see this, so if someone smiles, if someone says, "Oh, you're very nice vocals," or whatever, very nice singing, or very nice drums, anything, any compliment, then Krishna, they accept that as service, as devotional service. Anything to any contact. So my mother, who never came, in one sense, she never came to devotional service, but she was there, and at the end of her life, she actually chanted Hare Krishna. Before she left her body, about a week before she left her body, she actually chanted it on her own volition. And that was just by coming in contact once with a Harinam. And then obviously her son took to the devotional service sort of thing, but that's the potency of the Harinam. And it leaves an impression, you don't forget it. And also, when I saw the devotees, I thought they were from somewhere else. They're from another planet. So how did I know that? And obviously, how did I know that we were special, the devotees are special? How did I know that? I never had any contact with devotees before. That was just the impression that it gave me. So we may be out there doing it thinking, oh, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the holy name is coming through you, it's descending from Golok, it's coming through us. And we have no idea of the potency of that holy name, how it acts on people. We have no idea. But if we follow the four requisite principles, obviously you'll have more potency. But that's not the qualification. The qualification is you just get out there and you do it, because this is Kali Yuga. And it should be mass Harinam, it should be mass Harinam. And then, so Lord Chaitanya 500 years ago, they performed Harinam en masse. And that's not something you just read about in books. That's something you can do now. And people say, but there was a man who confirmed this. A few weeks ago, a man was staring at us when we were performing Harinam on Saturday. He was staring at us, and he went up to Manu and says, "Oh, this is very mystical. This is something special." And I met him a few days later, and he said, with what you're doing, you could take over the whole world. There was someone who doesn't even chant Hare Krishna. And then there was another, and years ago, this woman approached me and gave me some flowers, and said, I was chanting in the street in Birmingham, and she says, what you're doing is very beneficial for the earth. So this is climate change. If you want to have a demonstration about climate change, you chant Hare Krishna. So this is what you're doing is very beneficial for the earth. And since today's Mother's Day, and the earth is not different from Mother, that's why I'm giving you these flowers. She chanted me a bouquet of flowers. And it turned out that she lived off grid, grew her own food, all this, and no mobile phones or anything like that. And she followed her own spiritual path. Not something she read. Obviously, she was following a spiritual path, which obviously I didn't inquire into. She didn't want to book, but she says I'm following a spiritual path, and that was okay. But the point was that she appreciated what we were doing. You know the point. So this is the process which we should do, and if you perform it, it's very potent. You get something like 100 times more benefit for chanting outside as you do in the kirtan in the temple. And one of the benefits as well, if you perform kirtan in the temple, then there's offences to be considered. You know, you may do something silly like not bow down before the deities. You may, so many things, mistakes or whatever. You know, but on the Harinam, there's no offences considered. None.
Okay.
So we should do it
Very nice.
regularly.
So I was, so this was all where to place our compassion. So we have to be careful as well, when you be compassionate, we don't get entangled in that compassion, as it will lead to attachment. So my next question was, so how do we become attached to Krishna? What should we do to become attached to Krishna?
Devotional service, chanting, practicing the 9 processes of bhakti.
Very nice, thank you. Anybody else?
I think the chapters where the opulences of God is mentioned, that helps in getting that feeling of attachment to Krishna. Everything belongs to Him, and He is the doer, and we are just the instrument. So that helps.
But I was thinking like...
Chanting.
Yes, chanting, yes.
Surrender.
So, very nice, thank you so much for the answers.
Association.
Yes, yes. So, how do we become attached to Krishna? We will become attached to Krishna if we will know more about this person. So we should read more about Krishna and also associate with devotees who have already faith in Krishna, who have already realized the truth, who have already experienced that bhakti, that love for Krishna. So by seeing them, we will become inspired and we will follow their footsteps. And by chanting His name, if we chant Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, we won't remember Krishna. So we have to chant His name to remember Krishna. And by following the 4 regulative principles as well, because it's Krishna consciousness is very scientific. It's like, for example, I wanted to talk about a bit karma. When we're doing something, we have to do it as an offering to Krishna. And if we don't do it as an offering to Krishna, if we become attached to the result, for example, what are we doing?
Working.
We are walking. Yeah, simple example, like we are walking. A normal job. A normal 9-to-5 job, right? We are walking. Why we are walking? We are walking because we have to pay bills, we have to look after our family, we have to, we have some desires, we also want to, travel or things like that. Have holidays. Isn't that why we are walking, right? But the point that I'm trying to make here, when we are walking, we can also see it and offer it to Krishna. Because when we are walking and we have that walk, if we have attachment and we are attached to the result of it, it will bind us. Means it will create more and more karma, which will keep us in this cycle of birth and death. And only way to come out from the cycle of birth and death is to nullify all these karma. So we have to offer it to Krishna. When we offer it to Krishna, it's not counted as it's not going to keep us here in this cycle of birth and death. It will free us. So everything we do, we have to do it in being conscious that we are offering to Krishna. Even service, not just regular work, but even sometimes devotees do service, and sometimes we get attached to service as well. And we started to kind of, we look for appreciation, we look for recognition. And this is also, I guess, in a way it's good because you're doing service and you're attached to service. But here still we have to be so careful. We have to check our intention, why we are doing it. Are we doing it for our own ego? Or our, to get recognition, to get a name? Or we are doing it for Krishna's pleasure? Because we have to be very careful because Maya is very, very strong and powerful. So we have to be very careful. And yes, this was the law of karma. Because as a person, we identify ourselves as the body, right? This is my name. I belong to this country. I am an Indian. I am a Mauritian, or I am Irish. So we tend to identify ourselves with the body. But Krishna consciousness is something that tries to bring you to see things not from that perspective, but from a higher perspective. That I am not just this body. I am the soul within the body, and I am meant to serve Krishna, and I am part and parcel of Krishna, and this is my role, is to serve Krishna, and this is where we belong, you know. This is just it's just temporary, it's not an eternal place to live. I have experience working in nursing home, and I've seen them, you know. For me, it's like I've seen the cycle of birth and death while I was taking care of them. So I could see that they have great achievements. Some of them were like famous golf players, accomplished teachers, accountants. But one day I was just sitting in the sitting room. That's where they all sit down and just kind of, you know, just sit, you know, after getting all their morning needs done. They bring them down to the sitting room. They all come together. All of them sit in a circle with each other, and some of them don't have memory, some of them can't speak, some of them have Parkinson's disease or different suffering. So I've seen, I was just thinking to myself, wow, they've accomplished so much, but at the end of life, when they're at this stage of life, the old age, how is it serving them? Their kids come once a week to look after them, and the carers are looking after them. So it made me realize, what am I doing with my life? You know, I have to use it in a proper way, right? Because and one time I also asked one of my residents, one of the old patients, I said, what are you thinking? Like, you're at this stage of life now, old age. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? She told me, nothing. Just the life goes on, you know. And then I said, don't you think of what will happen to you after you leave the body? I asked the question saying, I don't know. You might go to hell or heaven. I don't know. So that was her answer, and I was like, wow. So she doesn't. At this age, you don't think so much, because the material world has conditioned us so much that we don't think of the soul. We think more about our needs, temporary needs, you know. So that binds us in this material world. And Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada, I was listening to a lecture, and Prabhupada was saying about material education and spiritual education. Material education is meant to make us more attached, but spiritual education is made. It's made to make you detached. So Bhagavad Gita is all about how to become detached. Everything in Bhagavad Gita is about how to become detached, how to become conscious of God. At whatever level whatever level or place you are in your spiritual life, from there Krishna is instructing what you should do. Okay, you're here, so what you should do. You are there, okay, what you need to do. So yeah.
Like my question is, like, if we detach ourselves from that particular work, or then is it possible to do that with same passion so that we'll get a best result? I mean, if I'm not passionate about science, right? I mean, if I detach myself, then is it right to say that I'll be able to do justice to that work?
No. This is what is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. It says, you do your work. You're saying that you're passionate about your work, but that passion, you try to use it for Krishna. So whatever you're doing, you're saying, okay, Krishna, before you start the work, you say, Krishna, this is something I'm doing. This is what is my nature. I am very good at it, so I want to do it as an offering to you. Please accept it. You don't have to renounce family life or your work or anything. Krishna is saying it's better to work than renounce your work or your family. So Krishna is not saying don't renounce everything. He's saying just whatever you're doing, you need to practice to kind of, when you're doing it, just do it in Krishna conscious way. You try to add Krishna in it, in your life. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I'm cooking something, right? So when I'm cooking, I am saying, okay, Krishna, this is what I am good at doing. I'm going to offer it to you as a service. This is what I'm good at doing. Even if you're cleaning the temple or you clean your house, Krishna, this house is yours, so I am going to clean the house for you today. You know, like this. We have to change the way of thinking, to adapt it, to change it and prepare it in a way where we are always conscious of Krishna. not just have just a certain time, but no, we have to do it like every second if it's possible.
And the side of that is, we work because we want a result.
Yeah.
We always want a result when we do something. And we want to get the best result. But Krishna is also saying, you shouldn't be attached to any result. You just do, and let me look after the result. That's also part of it.
Yeah. But it's also nice because if Krishna is saying not to get attached to the result, means if it's a bad result, you won't get affected. You know what I mean? You won't get affected. You will be equipoised. You'll be calm and peaceful because you know Krishna is in control. Don't try to control the situation. You know, just yeah.
So basically, if something goes wrong, so we won't be affected in a bad way, and even if something work out properly, we won't get too much excited. So like kind of maintaining balance and keep inner peace, like that.
There's that verse in Bhagavad Gita about distress and happiness.
Happiness and distress.
Happiness and distress come together.
Interest in the cities. One's learned to tolerate without being disturbed.
So can you say it loudly, Prabhu?
Well, happiness, this is the short version. Happiness and distress come and go like the winter and summer seasons. One must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So when you hear it initially, you think, why should I learn to tolerate happiness? That sounds really strange, but when happiness goes, you're disturbed. So that's why you have to tolerate happiness. Really, I'm just saying. And then obviously when misery goes, well, that's happiness, really. Prabhupada said that. Happiness in the material world is removed from suffering. But the thing with attachment is that you can get attached to saintly people, and you read about these personalities, and then you take on, when you're thinking of them, you take on 10% of their qualities, which is really interesting. So attachment, in one sense, it's who you're attached to, isn't it? It's not that. It's not. Shouldn't be attached to. But you've got to be attached to somebody. Obviously something, but really somebody, because the person is.
The point is, don't place your attachment in something temporary, but place your attachment in something which is going to give you eternal happiness. Place your attachment in Krishna. Place attachment in Krishna's pure devotees who will liberate you. Like Prabhupada, Place your attachment in reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. This is where I am finding peace around this time, because it's COVID. You barely see your friends or family because you can't have a big gathering. So for me, I find peace in reading Prabhupada books, and I feel like, wow, yes, it just gave me peace and happiness, So anybody has any other question? Else we will move to the next section. Any other questions? No?
I do have a...
You have a question?
It's a bit difficult, but anyway, I'll ask you. So my understanding of the pastime was... Bharat Maharaj, my understanding was he was almost on the level of Bhav. He wasn't he didn't have love of God, he didn't have Krishna Prem, because you don't fall down from Krishna Prem. So he was almost on the level of Bhav. That was my understanding. So that's a bit of a difficult one, sort of thing, because it's a bit.
But obviously he wasn't there yet.
He was not there yet. That's why he took a bird as a deer again. But when he took bird as a deer, he remembered his past life. Krishna gave him the benediction that he will remember his past life. And then in the deer of the body, he was lamenting. What did I do? Why? He became even more careful. He said, this time I'm going to be careful. I'm not going to make the same mistake again. So when he was born from the mother deer, he left his mother deer and he went to the same ashram. But this time he was living with the sages. He said he will live with the sages, and he was constantly thinking of Krishna within himself. But again, after when he was thinking of Krishna in the body of the deer, still he didn't take birth, he didn't got liberated. But what happened? He was born in a Brahmana family as Jadadhara, as a Brahmana. And then even he became even more renounced. Then he became, because of all the austerity and all the devotional service to Krishna, he became very much more elevated. And he decided that, okay, now I'm going to pretend that I'm dull and a dumb person, so nobody will disturb me. This is what it says in Srimad Bhagavatam. So nobody will disturb him. And yeah, but I haven't read the other part of the story yet, so I can't tell you more.
Well, Krishna gave the body of the deer to rectify, not to necessarily,
Yes, yes.
you know,
It
you need a
says,
horror of them.
yes, it says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna, that body of the deer, it was a punishment, but it also says in Srimad Bhagavatam that the punishment was not to be seen as something bad, but it was more to kind of intensify his love for him, because he gave him the memory. He gave him the, he remembered his past life. Even as Jada Bharat, he remembered he was Bharat Maharaj and he was a deer, and then now he's in the body of a Brahmana.
And you see that because in that section it says, by virtue of staunch spiritual practice, he could remember, and also Providence, he could remember his previous life. So, Giri Natnavali, that's hers, because she can remember her previous life, because she was practicing very staunchly as a Hare Krishna in her previous life, and she got born again into the movement, and then she had all these recollections of her previous life. So nothing's wasted, even though you might blow it, in your spiritual practice, you might blow it, get attached to whatever, but nothing's lost. And if you follow it staunchly, even if you blow it, there's still something positive will come out of it. It's not the end of the world. And by the way, there was a time when I rescued a deer. From the water. I rescued a deer that was drowning. This is what's my attachment. And still we were on in this raft, and Manu, I think Manu remembers this. I was up.
Story,
yeah, it was in this raft. I'm not sure, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And then it was during the Sunday feast, and then Manu said to me, there's some people who need some help down at the quay. And so I went down to the quay, and these people had this boat, just a normal, a small boat, and under this tarpaulin was a deer. It was like they'd rescued it from the water, And then the thing was, how do we get it onto the land without it, injuring us or injuring itself, Then I remembered the pictures of Jesus when he used to, carry the lamb, and he used to have the hands on each side of the legs, So that's what we did. We grabbed its legs, both sides, and then we just swung it really hard. And as we swung it, it landed on its feet, and boom, it was off,
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. So that was a jab past. What am I attached to? Hare Krishna. Just make sure that they're devotees. Yeah, you can touch that. That's good.
So I wanted to go do a meditation practice. So I'd like all of you to think, what is something that you're very attached to that is not very healthy for your spiritual progress, and we will pray to Krishna to help us to be detached from that thing, whatever it is, something personal. So yourself, in your heart or in your, so you can just pray to Krishna. We just take a moment and pray to Krishna. Krishna, this is something I am attached to, but I am not so strong. I need your help. I can't let it go without your help. So we can pray to Krishna and ask Krishna to help us to become detached. And even if you're not ready, just pray to Krishna that one day I will become ready to let it go. Yeah. So we can say that the beautiful prayer to Krishna. And in that mood, we are going to remember Krishna's. There's a lovely prayer from Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami that I wanted to sing with all of you. It's about the nectarian glories of Brajadhan. So it's all about Krishna, his pastime, his people he's living with. Can you close it? Could you play the drum for me?
Okay.
Venerable, I don't know how to play that prayer. Do you think you will be able to play that prayer? If I sing it? Yeah? And we will end with this prayer.
Ram